Let's say you're a Marine squad leader. Your orders? Take a bridge. Simple enough. But the map's wrong, your radio's dead, and the enemy is popping up where they're not supposed to be. So what do? Do you just wait for new orders that might never come, or do you act? That single question right there is the absolute heart of the United States Marine Corps' philosophy of warfighting. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today, starting with the one problem that every battle has to solve.
So our journey starts with this big idea from the legendary military theorist Karl von Clausewitz. And look, this isn't just some fancy quote for a poster. It's basically a diagnosis of the central problem of combat. On a map, war looks clean, simple, but in reality, it's a complete mess of problems. The Marine Corps' entire warfighting doctrine, which is a publication called MCDP-1, is built from the ground up to solve this exact issue, a phenomenon it calls friction.
All right, so before we can even begin to understand how to fight, we first have to understand the nature of the fight itself. And lesson number 1 from MCDP-1 is this: war, by its very nature, is pure chaos. It is not a chess match. Think of it more like a bar fight in the dark during an earthquake. Okay, so this core concept is friction. And believe me, it is so much more than just the enemy shooting at you. Friction is literally everything that can and will go wrong. It's physical, like your rifle jamming or the mud sucking at your boots. It's mental, that fear and hesitation you feel under fire. It can be external, like miserable weather, or it can be totally self-induced, like an overcomplicated plan that just completely falls apart at the first snag. The main takeaway here is you can't get rid of friction. You just have to learn to fight right through it.
And friction? That's just the start. As MCDP-1 lays it all out, war is this chaotic soup defined by all these connected elements. You've got uncertainty. That's the classic fog of war, where you never have enough info. There's fluidity. The situation is always changing. Disorder isn't the exception in combat, it's the natural state. And right at the center of it all, the human dimension. We're talking fear, courage, exhaustion, and the totally unpredictable will of your enemy and your own people. The point is, you can't control this environment. You can only learn to thrive in it.
So, if war is this uncontrollable storm of chaos, how on earth do you build an organization that can not only survive it, but actually win in it? Well, that brings us to the Marine Corps' answer, a small book with a huge impact, called Marine Corps Doctrinal Publication 1, or as everyone calls it, Warfighting.
This quote from the foreword by General Krulak, it's everything. He's telling us right up front that MCDP-1 is not a rule book. It's not a list of instructions to follow. It is, at its core, a shared philosophy. It's a common way of thinking that's designed to guide a Marine's judgment in the middle of chaos, when no rulebook could possibly have the answer. And that really gets to the whole goal here. The big idea is to arm every single Marine, from the 4-star general planning a campaign all the way down to the private clearing a room, with the exact same mental framework. It's about creating an organization that can adapt, improvise, and act together, not because they're following some rigid script, but because they all understand the why behind the mission. It's a philosophy that's totally built on trust and initiative. So, how does this way of thinking actually look on the battlefield? Well, it leads to a very specific style of warfare, one that actually tries to use the chaos of the battlefield as a weapon. This is the whole idea of fighting smarter, not just harder. MCDP-1 draws this really sharp line between two ways of fighting. On one side, you have attrition warfare. You can think of this like a football team that just runs the ball straight into the biggest, strongest part of the defensive line every single play. It's a head-on, brute force slugfest that tries to win by just grinding the enemy into dust. It's bloody and it's slow. And then you have maneuver warfare. This is the Marine Corps' bread and butter. Instead of smashing into the line, this is like a clever offense that uses speed, misdirection, and surprise to go after a slow defender and break into the open field. It's not about destroying the enemy piece by piece. It's about making their entire system just collapse. The end goal of maneuver warfare is to shatter the enemy's cohesion. It's about getting inside their head, inside their decision-making cycle. You want to create dilemmas and make things happen faster than they can possibly react. You cause confusion, which leads to panic, and that ultimately leads to paralysis. You're not just fighting their soldiers, you're fighting their very ability to operate as a team. Okay, that all sounds great. Speed, surprise, initiative. But how do you get thousands of people to do this without just making things even more chaotic? Well, that brings us to the second huge pillar of the warfighting philosophy, a concept that makes all of this decentralized action possible. This right here is the secret sauce: commander's intent. So instead of just telling a subordinate what to do, take that bridge, a commander also explains why. Take that bridge so that you can stop the enemy from escaping across the river. This simple little addition is absolutely revolutionary. Why? Because now, if that subordinate gets to the bridge and finds out it's been blown up, they don't have to just stop and wait for new orders. They know the why. So maybe they find a shallow spot to cross downstream, or they call in engineers. They can use their own brain and their own initiative to get the real job done, even when the original plan is toast.
This whole process, it's like a contract of command, and it's built on trust. The senior leader trusts the subordinate to make good decisions, and the subordinate trusts the senior to give them clear intent and back them up. This is what empowers that squad leader we talked about at the very beginning. It's a philosophy that basically says, I trust you. You are a thinking warfighter, not a robot. I need you to understand the big picture and make smart calls on the spot. This is how you generate speed and take advantage of opportunities in a totally chaotic world.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. We've seen that war is chaos, defined by friction and uncertainty. We've seen that the Marine Corps' answer isn't a rigid rulebook, but a shared philosophy of maneuver. And we've seen how that philosophy gets put into action through something called commander's intent.
At the end of the day, what MCDP-1 Warfighting gives the Marine Corps is a blueprint for fighting smart. It's a philosophy all about getting decisive results with the lowest possible cost. It's about using your brain, your speed, and your opportunism as weapons. By avoiding the enemy's strength, hitting them where they're weak, and shattering their ability to function, the goal is to win quickly and decisively. And that's absolutely critical for an expeditionary force that has to be ready to go anywhere, anytime.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. This whole philosophy was forged for the battlefield, sure, but these principles are universal. I mean, think about it. Thriving in uncertainty, empowering your team with clear intent instead of micromanaging them, focusing on a competitor's weakness instead of just banging your head against their strength. How could these ideas work in your business, on your sports team, or in any complex challenge you're facing? It's a powerful way of thinking no matter what you're doing. If you want more deep dives into the doctrines and strategies that are shaping our world, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you in the next explainer.